Three, two, one.
Hello, you're tuned into WBPULP St. Petersburg 96.3 on your FM dial. Welcome to the Simone Durant Show, where we cover all things hair, health, beauty, and community.
Wow!
Yep, you heard it. This isn't just a show, it's a movement. So turn up the volume and join the conversation. It's time to educate all things hair, health, beauty, and community. I'm your host, certified hair loss specialist and restoration expert, Simone Durant, and I am so excited to be with you guys today. I want to start off like I always do with the attitude of gratitude, giving thanks to the author and finisher of my life, who is God Almighty. Thank you to the African People's Education and Defense Fund. Thank you to the Black Power Management. Thank you to Uncle DJ Eddie, Florida's best blind DJ, manager of Black Power. Thank you to all the leadership who support the radio station and beyond. Thank you to my wonderful fiance, Vaughn, my parents, my children, my clients, mentors, educators, everybody. Thank y'all. Thank you to the Simone Durant Show family, the Uncle DJ Eddie, the Florida Blind Boy Experience. Thank you to all of y'all. Like I said, I stay in an attitude of gratitude because I understand where I came from and I understand where I'm going, and I know that nobody can do it alone. So I just thank all of you guys for continuing to support me each and every week. I got a phone call, and I want to give a shout out to Sister Deborah Henderson for calling me last week and just encouraging me. It was her first time hearing the show, and Sister Henderson, she grew up in the church with me at Pleasant Grove, and she has always been very encouraging. Me and her sons were along the same age, and she just called me and told me how proud of her, proud of me she was, and gave me a lot of encouragement. And we talked about, of course, some hair stuff, but it was just nice for someone to call out of the blue who I haven't heard from in years and just lift my spirits. Little did she know that I needed that encouragement at the time. Not for any particular reason, but just a fresh perspective on some of the things that I was doing. I've been taking a bit of a sabbatical on a lot of things, trying to give myself the space and grace that I talk to you guys about all the time, so that I can process through and really take the next segment of this year to be even more intentional. And as I've been processing, so many things have been coming full circle. And we're going to talk about some of those things today, because this past weekend, I wasn't planning on going to the Premier Orlando Hair Expo or Hair Show. It comes around every year. It's a huge hair show, and everybody from all over the country and even all over the world. I met a guy from Italy who comes to this hair show, and so I used to go when I first started in the industry and became a professional. I would go every year. But since I've been in the hair loss space and they don't have a lot of like hair loss type education and things like that, even though understanding the overall idea of hair is a part of anticipating hair loss, I've been, for the last 3 to 4 years, I've been gearing specifically towards hair loss education and hair loss conferences. And so when I decided to go, it was actually by invitation of one of my comrades who were connected to the hair loss program that I got certified in. She's like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to be in Orlando and I'm going to the hair show. Are you coming? And I'm like, I don't know. It wasn't really on my plans, but the Lord just kept compelling me to go at least one day. So at first I was going to go on Saturday. I'm like, nah, that's my Sabbath. I'm chilling, But then I was like, okay, I can go on Sunday. I can figure out a way to, get my kids in a place where they need to be. And so I'm going to go on Sunday. So I woke up Sunday. My fiance got me all the way together, made me some breakfast, some coffee. I packed my snacks, and I drove to Orlando, which it wasn't deep in Orlando. It's only about an hour and a half because it's on International Drive. And I'm not used to taking the route that it took me. It was a new route, and it took me around the back part of the convention center, and then it made me ride all the way, literally all the way around its entirety. And I was like, wow, like, this is a very long path, right? And so I had to walk. I started on the tail end, and instead of sending me in the other direction, which would put me right where I needed to be, it took me the long way, and I went all the way around the convention center, which means that you're basically getting on the interstate and back off the interstate, and then coming around the front side to International Drive. And I was like, okay, but I'm here. So then I had to find a place to park, and when I got to the parking lot, it kept saying full. And then I go to another parking lot, and it said full. And so they were, the arrows were directing you again to go left to find more parking. So I went all the way down left, went to like multiple parking garages, went to multiple parking garages. I went to multiple hotels in the area, and everybody was accommodating the show, right? And so something was like, well, not something. God was like, just turn around and go right down the street. And he used this particular valet guy who was turning everybody around. But something was like, just keep straight. I know you can't go into that parking, but ask him. So he told me about a hotel that was right down the way on the other side of the convention center. And he was like, if you go maybe like 3 minutes that way, you'll be on the other side of the convention center, and they may have parking. So I went there, and when I got to the front of the hotel, they had hotel concierge service that was basically directing all the traffic. But the person that came to my car was actually the person who managed all of the traffic for the hotel, because I seen his tag. And so he was like, you know, how can I help you? How can I be of service? And I was asking him where to park, and he was like, hey, this is what you need to do. You need to go out here, go all the way around, and you can park in the back in our garage. And I was like, no problem. So I go to the garage, and I'm used to going to these events and there being a lot of paying up front, like paying at the door, you know, pay and get your ticket type of thing. And so I'm going into the garage, and I see people stopping, and I'm thinking like, okay, like this is where you're going to pay for your parking, you know, to park for the day, and then we're gonna go up. So I get to there, I ask them like, where we park, you know, go right in. And so I'm like, okay, but when I get to the parking garage, I see that you have to pay in order to like you have to pay by your plate. And so I went and I did the process. I paid by the plate. It was like $40 to be there for the whole day. And I was like, ooh, that's kind of steep, but it's okay. At least it's close. I won't have to walk that far when I get out of the convention center. And so I paid by plate. And so when you pay by plate, they have a code, a QR code that you save to your phone. So on the way out, you can show the attendant that you have paid, so they can let you out of the garage. So I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and do this. So I go to the hair show, and it's gonna come full circle, but I go to the hair show, and I'm like, wow, I haven't been here in a very long time. I think it's been about 4 or 5 years since I actually came to the hair show, but this was my stomping ground. The last time I was there, I did some hands-on training. I was, you know, sat with some people, did a special hands-on training for like shortcuts, for color. I did a celebrity stylist color theory. I remember exactly what I did. I took some education classes, and during that time I was introduced to one of the primary product lines that I use in my space for my hair loss at-home retail system. So, and I haven't been back since then. And so I've been using the company. I was dedicated to going and taking business classes. I saw that they had a lot of different business classes, how to adapt with the economy, how to infuse, AI the right way so that it's not taking over your industry. They had things about growing your team, growing your business. It was a lot of good information, and they were just like back to back to back. I barely was even on the sales floor aside from a complimentary hands-on razor cutting class that I took, and then just walking around for some of the vendors. So I met up with my comrade who had come from out of state, and we met up, we had a good time, and we were taking some classes together, and I went to look at the time, and I was like, oh, it's about an hour before the floor closes where all the vendors are. So we were going to stay in the class, another class, and go to like the in-depth panel discussion and hands-on, but I was like, I need to get to the floor because there's some stuff I need to get. I'm only here for one day. And we both do hair loss, but she's just in a different state. So I was like, hey, look, I want to take you to and it reminded me because the company that I work with, that I get my retail from, during the panel discussion, they were one of the people that were sponsoring the panel discussion. So a big bottle, well, it was a makeshift bottle, but it used it as like a podium stand with their company, and it looked like one of their shampoo bottles. And I was like, oh yeah, I do need to see them. And that's what made me kind of like get up. So I get there and I'm like, let's go find them. And I'm explaining to my homegirl, like, hey, like, these are the benefits of this program. Like, this is how you use it. This is how you use the protocol with your clients. Like, if you have multicultural clients, black, white, whatever, like, this is how you want to tweak it. This is how you can explain it to them. Here's what you want to. And so there was a guy that was listening, one of the salesmen, and or one of the educators, I should say. And he was listening at me, and I saw him like kind of getting closer and closer from the peripheral of my eye. And so he was like, oh my gosh, like, you sound like I taught you. And he gave me an opportunity to become an educator. He was like, I would love to explore an opportunity for you guys, to be an educator. And so in that moment, I felt like there was a full 360. And so we went, and I'm going to explain to you why, but we went through all the places that I wanted to go to, and they were getting ready to close. And my daughter does nails, and she's in a cosmetology program at her high school, but I thought she would be in love with hair like me, but she's really in love with nails. And good morning on Facebook. She's really in love with nails. And so I was like, because she does all our nails for free and she's really into it, I'm going to get her some stuff. So I was scrounging because she had been looking for designs and like gemstones and stuff like that for when she's doing her nail art. And I went to a place, and they were like really adamant about, oh no, we're closed, we can't service you, So I was like, that's fine, like, I understand that you're closing. Went next door, walked past and saw that there was another vendor, and they were looking very, very inviting. So I'm like, you come to a hair show to get rid of all your product. I know you're tired, and I understand that, so you don't want to, but they were very open. It was two young ladies who was their second year, and they were so knowledgeable. I was so happy that I was rejected by that particular vendor, because we had us a time, and we got on the phone. Like, they talked to my daughter, they were encouraging my daughter, they were telling her, like, this is what you want to use for this is what you want to use for that, these are your best practices, like, if you don't have this, like, and they were like, just talking to her about everything, and she was just like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not there, but I feel like I'm there, and I love this experience. And she was really happy, and she thanked me, which brings me full circle, because when I left the hair show, I walked back to my garage where my car was parked, and I was prepared to check out with the valet or the attendant on the way out of the garage. I had spent $40, and when I got ready to leave, all the gates were open. Nobody was checking for a QR code, and they had allow everyone to park there as a courtesy, unbeknownst to me. You know, and I started registering the difference between the hotel who just had like somebody letting people in and out, right, versus the hotel who had a concierge service and actually had a transport manager. And I'm like, oh man, like this is, you know, definitely the creme de la creme of experiences. But I also had been, you know, there's been multiple times where I've looked up that particular hotel and realized that they were really, really expensive to stay there. And I think that a part of their customer service and what makes them most valuable is that they do consider those things when things happen, and they, you know, they offered the garage as a complimentary service for the people that were staying there and the people that were connected to the people. And I thought that was amazing. But it leads me back, that whole story leads me back into the conversation that we're going to have today. Because about 10 years ago, maybe less, a little less, but about maybe 8 to 10 years ago, I remember being on fire.
Men great till they gotta be great. Don't text me, tell it straight to
Have heard my story. I started off as a professional braider, but I was really into, you know, cosmetology. I had been back and forth to cosmetology school, like, do I really want to do this? Do I not want to do this? And after I had my first daughter, it was, like, let me just get my braiding license so that I can start making some money. But the industry was calling me, and it kept calling me back and calling me back. And so before I made the decision to return to cosmetology school, I was doing what most of us have done. You know, I was, you know, just, I'll just do this style, don't tell nobody. But my clientele just kept building and building and building to where I was kind of like, well, I need to go to these hair shows. And yes, I'm a professional braider. Yes, I want the products that are going to support that. But I was also taking other education, and I was surrounding myself with licensed cosmetologists. So I was going on like road trips. I was going to look inside of factories on how products and things were built. I was surrounding myself with professional vendors and things like that. And I was in the same situation that God placed me in yesterday. And I remember to the day right now that they were so impressed by my ability to explain, to engage people, that they wanted me to be an educator then. And I was like, oh yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. You know, I had my braider license and, you know, whatever. And I was like, let's do it. So they sent me over the paperwork, and they're like, oh yeah, we're going to need your cosmetology license. And it hit me like a ton of bricks in my stomach. Like, I fell because I knew that the position that I was in, I had not prepared myself for, and I had the opportunity to. Right? And so today I want to talk about the importance of being prepared, right? Staying ready so you don't got to get ready. And understanding the importance of when an opportunity for you to learn and to put yourself in a position to be an expert in a certain position, to get a credential, to get a certification, to get your license. Take advantage of the opportunity when it presents itself, because you never, ever, ever know what is going to come by way of, you know, that experience. And so I kind of want to slow down in the moment, because like I said, I didn't realize that that moment that I felt my lowest point in the industry and my most embarrassing moment in the industry, where I had to stand face to face with professionals and tell them I'm not that kind of professional. I'm not the person that I'm presenting myself to be. I don't have the credentials that you guys think I have. It was a very, very humbling experience, you know? And sometimes I think that when we are putting ourselves in a situation to where we're showing face, we think that nobody's gonna know, nobody's gonna find out, like we're gonna be able to skate through and eventually just finagle our way all the way through. At some point, if you're really good at what you do, people are going to want to position you, but you're going to have to be prepared for that position. This is why a lot of times I talk to my kids about the importance of balancing out your creative expression with the systems that you need to be in place to support your life, right? My kids, they're very, very creative. They dance and they draw, and they do art, and they crochet and they sew, and they do all of these things that bring them joy. But then we have to take that and say, is this going to be an outlet, or are we going to position ourselves to be an expert in this space? Are we going to go to school and get certifications and start doing things? Or do we need to look at the bigger picture and go to the highest level of that creativity? Go to college, get a degree, get your your diploma, and that way what you love to do, a variation of that becomes recession proof, right? So sometimes, and I remember growing up as a kid having so many talents and abilities that you really don't know what to do, right? Everything that you do it so well that people are like, hey, like, you should do that, and you should do this, and you should do that, and you should do this, and you should do that. And it almost puts you in a gift overload, where you're like, I can do all of these things, but what am I going to do well? Like, what's going to be my focus? And with people like grabbing at you left and right, wanting you to do the things that bring them joy, that they like about you, that really resonate with them through you, it doesn't give you time to really find your focus. And so as a mom, I spent time with my kids a lot, watching what they do and who they are, and then keep zooming back, keep zooming out to see the big picture. And so when they want to do something that's very, very definitive, when they want to do something that is just a small part of that, I'm like, you can do this, or you can do this, right? And it'll encompass all of that, right? Because sometimes when we're doing the small things, it doesn't require a lot. But the minute we want to take that to another level, the opportunity has passed for us to be able to put those systems in place. Prime example, one of my daughters really, really loves theater. She loves to act. She has a very high moral compass. She's always asking questions about, like, is this fair, and why can't this be, this system be put in place? And she's always looking at the procedures, the protocol, the doctrines, the disciplines, and things of everything that she's involved in, and she loves for it to be fair. So I'm like, okay, this is something that you love to do. This is the way that you think about everything. Law might be the best course of action. Law is a recession-proof profession, And so when I first started, like, and me and her dad, like, had this conversation, but, when I first started coming to her as a mom and talking to her about it, you could see that there was a little bit of depression in the way that she was receiving the information. Not that she was depressed, but it was almost sad, because it felt like, well, I want to do theater, and I want to dance, and I want to, have my form of creative expression. But I took the time to really sit down with her and show her that lawyers get in the courtroom and do the same thing that actors do on the stage, right? The thing that you do all the time within your social groups, within your school clubs, within your classrooms, you advocate, you're dissecting laws and, the rules and regulations of everything, making sure that things are done fair, is the same thing that lawyers do in the courtroom. And that you don't have to get rid of the things that make it fun, but you can put those two mindsets together and move forward. Now, had I said, okay, you don't want to be a lawyer, that's fine, and then she moved forward in her life, by the time that she probably got 30 or 35, the vision that God had given me and showed me about her would have started to manifest in her life, and she would have spent that time not being prepared. And it might have been 30, 40 years old. She's doing theater, she's doing that, and she's like, man, but I want something more from this, right? So then she goes back to law school. Then she goes back to college. And so it really does take a community to be able to help children and help people see the bigger picture. But the short-term goals seem easier, they seem more attainable, but it's really about playing the long game. And I shared that story about me not being prepared, because that situation made me enroll in cosmetology school. because I had put in so much work and so much effort, and I was not prepared when the opportunity presented itself. So I went back to cosmetology school. I made sure that I got my license, and every credential after that added on to my precept. It added on to the foundation that was set that could get me in the rooms and have real conversations and open real doors and have real opportunities for my life. And so I didn't cry, but you know, I was very, very emotional when he gave me his business card, and I was like, I can have this conversation, right? I can go back to my mentor and I can tell her about this experience, and it's something that we can legitimately explore. You know, it's about 8 to 10 years later. However, like, I realized in that moment that that's the difference. Preparation is the difference. And so if you're in a situation where you're wanting something to be, go back all the way to the beginning. Really think about what is needed for you to be the best version of that self, and the best version of you in that experience. And sometimes that does mean, okay, I got to go back to school. Sometimes that does mean I need to go and get a particular certification. Sometimes that does mean that you have to now humble yourself and put yourself back in a position to learn so that you can have the credentials that you need in place. And I'm being very open about like some of the things that I'm doing, because the best way to have these conversations is to talk about the things that you know best, which is me. And once I got licensed as a cosmetologist, I was in a completely different space, right? As I was growing, I was entering into hair shows. I had done hair shows. As I was going through cosmetology school, like I said, I was going to hair shows. I was entering into hair competitions. I was doing a lot of different things. I was studying product knowledge. I was doing trial and error with a lot of things. I had an amazing family-oriented salon that I worked at. And even though they were allowing me, they would have allowed me the grace, I stepped back and I'm like, no, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to put myself back in submission of the authority of this industry, and I'm going to do what these people telling me to do. So some of the services I stopped doing as I went back through cosmetology school, and until I got signed off in that particular service in school, and I didn't do the service in the salon. And when I did the service in the salon as a student, I only did it when I had a licensed professional in the salon working with me, because I had been in a mindset where as long as people let me do what I want to do, I'm going to do what I want to do, right? But if you really want to change your mindset, you have to learn to put yourself under submission. You have to learn how to set boundaries for yourself. You have to learn how to make yourself abide by the rules. And so when I realized that basically I was out of control in the industry, right? I put myself under the authority of the industry, and I wanted to know what that felt like, because as an entrepreneur, working for yourself, you are the boss. You're the person that tells you what to do. You're the one who determines how everything is going to go. You're the person who makes all the decisions, and if you don't want it to happen, it doesn't happen. If you want it to happen, it does happen. If you want to do something, you do it. If you don't want to do something, you do it. If you want to cut corners, you cut corners. And so learning to be the first step to learning to be a great leader and a great person in society is holding yourself to certain guidelines. And I realized, I was like, dang, like I lack integrity. And most people would be like, Simone, like you're a great person, you're always looking out for people, like I think that you're a very integral person, you do what you say you're going to do. But integrity means how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so when I realized that I was lacking integrity in the way that I was doing the industry, I had to reprimand myself, right? And so some people, they look at me now and they're like, wow, like you are just like moving like a freight train. And it's because I constantly hold myself accountable to things that I didn't used to hold myself accountable to, right? And it is very uncomfortable putting yourself in those positions. It is very uncomfortable being an entrepreneur, but paying for a mentorship, allowing yourself to be led and guided by people who don't make the money for you, or control like what happens on in the everyday like atmosphere of what you're doing in your business, but understanding that they do have a greater insight. They have been in places that you haven't, and you have to realize, like, if you were working for someone would be doing that. So in order for you to learn, you have to put yourself in that position. I told my other daughter, she's really into medicine, right? And so I was talking to her about the difference between someone being a 50-year-old doctor or surgeon, and being the best, versus somebody doing it at 30, right? You have to put yourself under pressure. You have to say, hey, I'm going to put myself in this situation to grow, to learn, to be uncomfortable, because I want to be the best early. Life is going to teach us a lot of stuff, right? And so by the time we get to our 40s and our 50s, we may know a lot of things that we didn't know when we were young. But if you want to be young and great, right, you have to say, I'm going to put myself in the same positions as people who are older than me did. I'm going to fast track myself. I'm also going to listen to wisdom. I'm going to let people pour into me. I'm going to take the road less traveled, because in America, let's face it, a lot of times we grew up like, you have time, right? When you were a kid, you're like, oh, you're going to grow up and then you're going to do. Whereas in a lot of other countries, kids are, by the time our kids' age, they might be even retiring their parents. They might be 22, 23, 24, 25, and they're done. Like, they already have had their plan, and they're getting into their late 30s, and they're experiencing their best life. I talk to a lot of diverse people through my work and through the community, and I do see that in the culture of a lot of people who have immigrated to America, the mindset of where they comes with them. And there is a lot to learn from the way that they process information versus the way that we process information. Even though times are changing and people are like picking it up, even myself, like, I'm making sure that my kids are getting into the groove of things early. Congratulations to them. They just started dual enrollment this summer, so they are officially college students, and I want to tell them how proud of them I am right now. But at the same time, like, we give our kids in America a lot more time, not necessarily to be kids, but to not think about what's going to affect the next 10 years of their life. By the time they're 8, you have 10 years till they're 18, and then they're like, everybody's looking at them like, what you're going to do, 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 what you're going to do. So you can't really waste those 10 years, like, even those 6 years between 12 and 18, when they go from adolescent to, young adults, essentially, or like, teens. And that time has to be occupied with some type of plan, because when they turn 18, the world is like, what you doing with your life? And all that time has been spent being undeveloped. And so there's a lot of different things that are going on in the community for kids to be developed in the way that they want for their future. But we have to start thinking about it. I went to an event, and my kids came with me, and it was an educator that came with me, and he was like, not came with me, but, well, he did come with me, we all came together, but he was the keynote speaker, and my kids were in the room, and there were some JROTC students that were in the room as well. And so he made sure he touched almost every point with each child. And he asked them, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What are your plans? And all the kids in the room, except for my kids, had no idea what they wanted to do. And these were high schoolers. And so for some people, they would say, I understand, like, they're just kids, they're figuring it out. But in 4 years, they're not going to be considered kids anymore. And some of these kids were already in 10th, 11th, and in 12th grade, right? So they still don't know. And I'm here to just encourage you guys a little bit, because not knowing for that long is going to be a detriment to being successful, right? We're in an information age right now. We're in the technology age where they are openly saying you have access to all of this, right? And if you are allowing yourself or your kids to not get access to it, the tides will shift, right? They're separating the high from the low, the good from the bad, the smart from the less educated. There's going to be a very clear separation. And I'm here to share my story and let you guys know that as quick as things are moving, those 10 years, those 8 years from the time that I got rejected to the time that I was qualified went so fast. So it's not too late, right? You can pull yourself back up. You can take a deep dive in. You can change the trajectory of your life. You can do and position yourself however you want to do it. It is not over for you. It wasn't over for me at the time. I had 2 kids. You know, I was already working in the industry. You know, I was already thought I had my life figured out, right? Until I got slapped in the face. It was like, girl, you need to go back and do what you need to do. And I've learned since then that I'm continuing to put myself in position to be ready for the next level and you know, continuing my education and preparing for where I want to be. But like I said, that was a very, very hard lesson. I thought that like people were going to just roll with it. And I'm here to tell you, I don't care how far and how much and how long they kiki and laugh in your face. When it's time to handle business, business is business. You get what I'm saying? So they might think you're the nicest person in the world, like, oh, you're doing great, this and that, da-da-da. Don't matter. When it comes time to business, people don't play about their time, people don't play about their money, you know, and when they want to engage with you, they want you to be prepared, right? So I'm sharing this story to let you guys know that, you know, you can do what it is that you need to do. Your path is not my path. Another thing that I want to highlight from the story that I shared is that not only that event came circle, but I think that for the fact that I had to go all the way around the convention center, right? The length of time, right? From my first encounter to my next encounter, right? The length of time was also represented with my ride around the convention center. Like I said, I could have went the other way and got there a lot faster. But because of the decisions that I made, you know, of following this particular roadmap, I had to take the long route. And so, but still, I arrived there. I got there. Another thing is that when you get there, sometimes because you are there, because you have been positioned, because you're on the right track, God will open up those doors for you. And at the time, I didn't process the fact that, okay, this is a concierge transportation manager. Like, I didn't even know that was a title, right? And he has personally directed me towards where I can park my car safely, you know, and because I'm in this atmosphere around people that understand what value this show is bringing to them. They understand what value the people who are attached to the show are bringing to them, and they want to do business with them. The gates were open. I didn't even have to pay those $40, you know, but it was something new to me. I had never experienced like being in a situation where a hotel that close to the convention center would allow you to do that, you know, and I think that if I hadn't have driven by myself, I probably wouldn't have seen that because I would have just gotten dropped off. So I think that all things kind of like work towards the overall purpose and for the good of those who love God and who God has called according to purpose, and they're operating in that purpose, you know. So I was able to see so much in this experience, and I know that I didn't have like a bunch of, you know, bullet points today and things, but I wanted to kind of bear my heart out because it was something that was very affirming to me. I hope that you guys enjoyed the conversation as well, because I want you guys to just know that even though the road and the journey may seem tough, just put in the effort. Do it right. Go from A to Z. Don't go from A to L to Z, and then when somebody's looking for Q, you don't have it. Put in the work. Do it. And when it comes time for the opportunity to present itself, you'll have more than enough on your plate, you know, to be able to get what you need done and to say, hey, these are my terms, right? You want me at this level, these are my terms. Whereas a lot of times, even if they do accept you in situations, because you don't have everything that you need, it starts to be, okay, well,
Great till they gotta be great. Don't text me, tell it straight to
want to have to settle because you don't have your ducks in a row. You don't have the right credentials. You don't have the things that you need, because it lowers your self-esteem. It lowers the way that you think about yourself. And really, that's not it at all. You just got to go back and fill in the blanks and pick up the pieces and do the things that you need to do, so when it's time for you to have those conversations, you can come at it as a professional, or come at it as the expert in your position, or come at it with full qualifications so that you can state your terms and have a better quality of life. Before I get off the air, I want to share a story about one of my clients that I used to have, and she used to be a buyer for a lot of big name companies, and she would be moved all over the United States, from Texas to Georgia to Florida to all these different places. And she, that was the first time that I was able to have an in-depth example shown to me of a corporate severance package. And so this particular client, she was looking for another job. She was applying for a position, and I saw her go back and forth with the company saying, no, I want my money. I want more money. I want better vacation. Like when it comes to mental health, I need this. When it comes to, you know, maternity leave, I need this. You know, and I'm like, girl, like, you're that good that you can tell these people what you want and they're going to give it to you? You know, and this was probably about 7 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, that I was able to see this, and it really put fire up under me to know that when you're working with other businesses, which is something that I've always wanted to do. Like, I've thought about being a platform artist. I've thought about being an educator on many different sectors. And I was like, oh, it's just really not my time. And I honestly don't even know if God was just showing me this to say, hey, like, you've arrived, you've come full circle, congratulations. Or if this is an opportunity that I actually want to explore. But in that moment, like, she was writing, I was doing her hair, and she was writing out her rebuttal to the offer that was given. And she said, hey, based on my time here, where I did this, and this, based on my education here, where I was this, and this, based on my year's experience here, I did this, and this, and this qualifies me for this level of pay. And I was like, girl, yes. And she got it all. And to put the cherry on the top, when she had her last child, she went through a ridiculous amount of obstacles, not only with her pregnancy, but post-pregnancy. She had a premature baby. Her baby had some health challenges and things like that. And the entire time she was going through that process, on top of postpartum depression, on top of other illnesses that she acquired after her pregnancy, because she was, over 35, she was considered high risk. And her job was paying her the whole time. Her job was paying her the whole time. And so I was able to see not only her advocate for what she wanted, position herself, got it, and I saw her reap the benefits of what she had put in place. And those people could not fire her because she had put an ironclad agreement in place. They paid her short-term disability because it was medically necessary. It was amazing. You know, and so I've seen a lot of these things, and as we move right into these opportunities, AI presents a very unique space because, and I was listening to a conversation before, and he was saying nobody, right, has an upper hand when it comes to utilizing AI. Not blacks, not whites, not youngs, not old, not nobody, right? We're all getting introduced to this at the same time. And so it gives a very unique perspective. The same time when computers start coming in and nobody know how to use computers, we're here again, right? So where you have the opportunity to go and get, I was looking at, I think, St. Pete College. They have a 9 credit AI efficiency certificate, and they have an 18 credit, which is about 6 classes. Each one is 3 credits. About 6 classes for AI proficiency in management utilization. And so, and that's not the exact name. I'm just like thinking off the dome here. That's not the exact name, but they have 2 different AI certificates. And when I looked at what the industry is giving people when they are attaching these certifications, we're talking about $80, $90, over $100,000 to be able to understand how AI is being used inside of these already established systems, you know, of business. And so, excuse me. I ain't gonna do what I did last time and be hacking y'all. But I just wanted to share that. I want to encourage you guys. And remember that your journey is yours uniquely, and beauty starts from within. I'll see you guys next week. Say peace.
Why men great till they gotta be great? Don't text me, tell it straight.